Hey, welcome back to the Joe Silverback Show. I'm your host, Joe Bunton, and this is part 2 of Resiliency, Desire, and Discipline. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that came up when I've been reading on great leaders, and I've already talked to you guys about Lincoln and Roosevelt. I'm very, very interested in the fact that Lincoln was pretty much self-taught and Roosevelt was home educated. And this ties in with the education of boys into men that is critical to my thinking, which is that it's pretty serious if you want to raise boys into leaders today, that you rethink their education, their early education. Whether or not they're in public schools, private schools, or homeschooled, it's the father's responsibility and obligation and role to pull his child, his boys, into an all-male group as soon as possible. Does that mean that he can't bring his daughter and play with his son and wrestle with his daughter as much as he... No, that's not what it means at all. It means that, in addition to that, he needs to understand that boys need boy time alone with only boys, and the pecking order development that boys get when they are left to their own and not overly organized and form their own political alliances and form their own intuition and instinct about where they stand in the pecking order. The sooner that your boy understands that about himself, the more that he can understand how he wants to get at the top of whatever level he wants to achieve. You can't do that in public schools. You can't do that in public places anymore. It impressed me when I was reading about Roosevelt and when he was in his first year of law school, some people of higher station recognized him as his, the son of his father, and his father had a great reputation. They also knew that he had the money and the means to help further a political career for Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy had to have the discipline, the desire, and the resiliency when that opportunity came along. But it was through this boys' club, this men's club, that Teddy was groomed and selected. And of course, prior to that, it was through his drive and determination and ambition. And one of the things that I have identified as part of my PhD thesis, my lifetime work, is helping human beings learn how to think, and helping all of us learn and relearn that thinking can be a painful process if we don't want to deal with truth. So one of the painful processes that people like myself, silverbacks like myself, have to present to the rest of the world are things that are painful to look at. And one of the things that's extremely painful to look at that I haven't really heard much talk about is, how in the world is it that man has relinquished all of his private organizations and clubs and all of his interests in being able to have just boys be together, just boys with older boys and men be together, excluding all females? How is that possible? Is that a painful thing to think about? Is that something that was written in stone? Did God come crashing down upon us and tell us that something was wrong? So my philosophy is, be careful when you throw out the baby with the bathwater, because today many men are baffled and confused about women's social networking and organizing and empowerment. at the same time of these loner males who were just wandering without any real strong group influence. And so I'm going to make a statement, which is that that was the worst thing that could ever happen. So from just letting kids alone out on the streets and in the canyons and in the fields like we were left alone when we were kids, you'll come to understand that kids are mini adults in terms of their ability to sift out and sort out pecking order. And pecking order is the best education. So it's no accident when men are in military engagements together that some people are more cowardly and more afraid, and some people are just more fierce and ferocious and brave, and some people are a combination and they don't even know when that's going to kick in. It just does or it doesn't. And the nature of a military band of males is very primal, very, very, very primal. So the notion that the only reason that we cut out allowing men to gather privately is because it was unfair is not a good enough answer. What's really, really important is that we understand how crucial it is to get boys away from this softening madness of feminism and this softening madness of overly trying to feminize our males, because it's a disaster in the making. Women are incredible mothers. No, I shouldn't say that. Women can be incredible mothers. And as mothers, they can be incredible at nurturing young children. Women can be incredible in giving their boys and their girls incredible love, education, a lot of things. But women can never help boys become men, because women can never be men. They can never feel what it's like to be a man. They can never be in the psyche of a man, just like a man can never be in the psyche of a woman. Therefore, it's ludicrous to have this idea that a primarily feminized ideology is going to work with a primarily masculine child. So there's tons and tons of literature out there on boys and adolescents and their need for the father and their need for rough and tumble and their need to compete and their need to play king of the mountain. And we need to seriously analyze how we can get more of that back in our boys' lives. So this video is not for the faint of heart, and it's not for the politically correct. It's for those who understand that if you want to be an, I don't know, is it MMA or MMA fighter? Let's take a Joe Rogan and ask his opinion. I mean, does he think that these guys that he brawled with and the guys that achieved the highest level of male martial arts were going to achieve that by associating with girls and women? I don't think so. Same in the military. Same in the military. Our highest and greatest leaders and commanders, none of them are going to tell you that they believe that the military should be run by women and that men should be following women into battle. None of them will tell you that. I didn't say, and I will never say, that there are not individual women who are capable of leading anybody into danger, into battle. That's not what I said. I said that we are in need of men's group only with boys to help educate them to be strong, to be tough, to get the shit kicked out of them if they open up their mouth, instead of, have a woman just tell them, hey, that's not very nice. There's a lot of psychology and psycho-emotional content that's passed on only from male to male. So my directive to those who can do it is home educate as long as you possibly can, so you can instill core values up until a certain age. So like, for example, if you want to home educate until high school, that's incredible, because then you've got those crucial formative years being shaped by your support of the power of masculinity and the power of the father and the power of, what it means to become a strong man and a good leader. And serious study is both in terms of just reading to develop the mind, because education and knowledge is power, and everybody those people who have the highest levels of education and knowledge have the highest levels of power in a broad spectrum. I mean, you guys know that one of my sons didn't pass the 10th grade and went the entrepreneurial route. So I have a high degree of respect for the entrepreneurial education, meaning bypassing university and going straight into business. But I do not ever bypass reading, writing, thinking, and study. So if you're going to focus in an entrepreneurial direction, you need to be able to be self-disciplined and study at home. So serious physical challenges, serious physical workouts, serious sports activities, climbing, biking, hiking, kayaking, karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, martial arts, anything, soccer, anything that requires a boy to be physically very, very challenged and pushed and stretched. So the difference between a Lincoln and a Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, in fact, both Roosevelts, is that Lincoln was a physical, fierce dude from the get-go. He happened to be kind and generous and find humor because he wanted the public to admire him and like him. But that guy grew up being very physically strong, whereas Teddy Roosevelt was sickly, and his father finally came to him one day and said, if you want to get anywhere in life, you also have to develop your physical form, your physical fitness. And that began the physical development and training in boxing, in sports, in horse riding, in horsemanship, that Teddy Roosevelt took on to become a fierce dude mentally and physically. So you got to have those. Nature, again, guys, nature is the center of the universe. It's the center core of our being, the cellular, biological, evolutionary, psychological, emotional content makeup of the human being is always first and foremost of nature. So embrace as wild and primitive aspects of your nature as you can. Find it. Find that fierceness that comes from being in wild places. That's kind of winding up the 15 minutes here, guys. I'd like your comments, feedback, especially about the boys' clubs, the men's clubs, the why not. I mean, today we have meetups for any kind of organization that we want. I could have the purple-haired, purple-bearded men's writing club, or the purple-bearded, purple-haired women's transvestite writing club. So let's get over some of our PC stuff. One more thing, I had some questions about, you know, whether or not you can spot a leader in someone's personality, and one of the things that I've liked that I read recently was that, you know, a good leader, it's like a key. There's no master key. There's multiple types of keys that open up different doors, and each have different notches and chips and on them and ridges. And one man might not be fitted for here, but he may be perfectly fitted right here. So find your key, find your knife blade with its notches and ridges. Learn to shape your own notches and ridges to fit where you need to fit.